we are talking about the Virtuous Circle in LinkedIn, and those of you who are part of the leadership and management HR community will probably recognise this is a particular model that is used there. And it's mainly about giving. So in LinkedIn, this means that the more you give, the more presence that you will have in LinkedIn, therefore the more engagement that you're likely to have. Therefore, there's more credibility for you as yourself. And of course, it means you're going to attract more quality people. And by quality, I'm meaning quality introducers, quality advocates, and of course, quality business leads leading to quality clients. So, and it all starts with giving. So today, the Virtuous Circle in LinkedIn, I'm going to share a few tips on how you can actually use LinkedIn to start and develop your own virtuous circle, which should result in all of the rest of what you can see on the screen at the moment. So let's kick it off. Let's talk about relationship building, because this is what LinkedIn is all about. It's not about selling. It is about, I suppose they call it social selling. And basically that means having conversations, getting to know people. In fact, it's networking. It's what we do, and it's what we're doing here now. It's networking, getting to know each other, so that we in turn can then be able to introduce people to our own contacts and our own clients. And it's a really effective way to do this. LinkedIn is huge. It's absolutely huge, as most of the social media platforms are. So you can't possibly hope to build relationships with everyone and with all of your connections. This is why it's important to have those quality connections. So let's start by connecting with the people that we can see here today. After today, you will be able to copy the chat, and you'll see actually who's on the chat, so that you are then able to connect with them in LinkedIn. And this is the start of your customer journey, or your introducer journey, or your advocate journey. Just because you're on LinkedIn doesn't mean that you're there to sell to people. The same as being in this group. We're not here necessarily to sell our services to people. What we're doing is we're building relationships. So the first step is obviously connect. And I know all of you have heard of the know, like, trust model here. So when you're connecting and you're then able to thank and build rapport with people, that's very much around the knowing part. You're getting to know people. And the best way that you can do that is through the direct messaging, which we have on LinkedIn, and that's available to all of us for our direct connections as in the free LinkedIn service. Once you've connected and you've built rapport, the next stage is engaging in conversation. And that again is we're not selling, we're not pitching to people, we're asking them, how are they, what are they doing, who would they like introductions to? This is what I mean about engaging in conversation. This is when you get to start to know, to like people. And the next step along this is, of course, trust. And the best way to build trust is to take that conversation offline, outside LinkedIn, just the same as you're doing when we're meeting face to face. We say, should we have a one-to-one? Let's meet, find out about a bit about each other. That's what you're doing here. So you can take that offline, have a conversation either by Zoom or by phone at the moment when we get back face to face. And this is where you're developing your trust. And this is where you're likely to develop those introducers, because they're getting to know you and your business. You're getting to know advocates. And of course, it's clients that you're likely to attract at this stage, either directly or from introductions. That's basically how the relationship building conversations happen within LinkedIn. And this is a very important part of that customer journey. It's that first touch leading through to something which is really quality and really productive for you. Now, often people will say, well, you know, in LinkedIn, all I get is just standard generic connection requests. So it's vital at this stage to be, at that very first step, is to personalize your connection request. When you're meeting in this type of environment, of course, that makes it easy because you can tell people where you've met them. So they've met at the Huckle group and you'd like to connect with them. That's a very simple introduction. But if you don't know people, perhaps you've only met them once and you can't remember who they are, or maybe you've seen that they might be a useful introduction for you or a useful connection for you, then you need to be a little bit clever. So what I would suggest, if you haven't met people before, then remember to avoid any templates. Don't say something like, and I've seen so many of these recently, don't say something like, oh, I can see we share plenty of connections, therefore I'd like to connect with you. Well, why? Why would they want to connect with you? You need to tell people why. And that means finding that commonality. So make the effort, view their profiles, find out what it is they're about. Perhaps, for example, they may be volunteering somewhere. Maybe they've put something in there about their previous experience. Maybe you've shared a previous experience. In fact, there's a lady on this group now, Catherine Ledger, who we first initially connected through LinkedIn, I believe. And what the commonality was is we both used to work for BT in previous history. So therefore we'd immediately got that commonality. So therefore it made that conversation easier to open. That's where that comes from. So always tell people why. And if you're not sure, have a look at their activity, look at their posts, look and see what they've commented on. You can all see that it's open to everyone, and mention that in your introduction. And remember, never put in a sales pitch. And if you're wanting to be honest and tell them why you want to connect. And I've had a few of these, and it is, Linda, I'd like to connect with you because I've got something I think I'd like to sell to you. Effectively, that's not the right way to do it. So you look for that commonality and start building that relationship. And only then, if that person is interested, do you then agree to discuss that, your services. So just showing on the screenshot here, this is on using the desktop version of how to connect on LinkedIn. Just go to their profile, click the connect button. It's the only time you should ever click the connect button using the desktop. However, the mobile is different. So on the mobile app, you need to personalize your invitation in a different way. You never click the connect button on someone's profile, because if you do so, it will just rattle off a generic, please join my LinkedIn network request. What you do instead is you go to the more button, and on some phones, it'll be a drop down arrow or a 3-dot button. Once you've done that, you then come to step 2 and you get a drop down arrow which says personalize invite. And then it will open the 3rd screenshot, which is the actual invite window. And then you can tap in on the mobile your personalized invitation. So that's how to do it on a mobile app. And just to let you know, the newer iPhones, they are the mobile app has been developed so it matches the desktop app, but I would always double check. I would never ever click that connect button just in case it sends them a generic request. There are plans to move this so that it matches the desktop experience, but it's not quite there yet. Okay, so the human touch. Adding a human touch, and if you remember on that journey I showed you with the 5 steps towards introducers from Connect, using the messaging is a really great way to do this. And once you've connected, then you can follow it up with a message. And most of us will, I hope, be able to send a text message, just say, thanks very much for connecting. How can I help you? Is there someone you'd like to be introduced to? Something similar to that. Well, a better and more effective way is that first touch, remember, is either to send them a voice note. A voice note becomes therefore more personalised, or you could send them a video. Now, these two are only available using the mobile app. They're not available on the desktop app for some reason. So use these two using your mobile, and then it makes that next step in your customer journey, that messaging, that thanks very much for connecting, a much more personal experience. And that's what we need to be doing. You don't have to do it with everyone. You can select who you would like to use that particular one for, particularly if it's someone who you think could be a quality introducer or advocate, or even provide you business leads. Then that's a really nice way to get to know that person. A couple of other things on the mobile app that are available. You can't really do this until we're back in person, and that is the location. You can arrange your one-to-ones, and then you can send them, let's say you've arranged to meet at the Hogsback Hotel, for example, then you can send them the location of the meeting, and that just adds a little bit of value, and it helps people to think that someone is thinking about them. Secondly, there is the availability. This is a bit restricted at the moment. I personally don't use it because I use a scheduling calendar separately. The availability links into your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar and can provide that person with your available times for making appointments. Again, only available on the mobile app. Okay, let's talk about more things that you can do to help your network as part of the Virtuous Circle. Yes, you can be reactive. Of course, you get the home feed, and on the home feed, you are prompted to like and comment on people's posts. That's great. And yes, you can do that. And you're also prompted through the notifications of anniversaries and role changes and profile changes. Yes, that's great. These are triggers, but it's far, far better to be proactive. Proactively view people's profiles, follow their company pages, proactively endorse people who you know who have provided great service, and you know they possess a certain skill. And even better, recommend people whose services you have used. And you don't have to do these all of the time. You need to be selective. Perhaps do, certainly while we're in lockdown, an ideal opportunity for you to recommend people. Maybe 1 a week, 2 a week. You decide, whatever suits you, but it's better to provide recommendations proactively than it is to wait for somebody to ask. To have a look in this group, who do you know who you have provided services, who you've received services from, and you can genuinely recommend to somebody else. Today, here's an action for you all. Go and recommend them. It doesn't take 5 minutes, honestly. And it's a far better way to support your network. And of course, you can be interactive as well. So we're talking about on the comments, on posts, ask them questions. Don't just add a comment, ask them a question. And then you can encourage that discussion and debate, and this will all raise your own visibility and your presence within LinkedIn. Now, another thing you can do, proactive, something for today. You really cannot support everyone, as I've said earlier. You cannot communicate with every single person unless you've only got a few connections. So focus on just a few. So write down the top 10 people, your clients. Write down new connections. Write down people who you think are great introducers. Take one from each list each day. Comment and like on their posts. send them a direct message, see how they're doing, see if there's anything you can do to help them during this particular situation. Follow their pages, start commenting on their posts, or actually write a post about them. That's another nice way to do it. Plus, people who've made a difference to you, start recommending, start showcasing them by writing those posts and endorsing them for their skills. So just use those core 10 people and then do that again, perhaps twice a week. And it will start to elevate your own presence, and it will make a huge difference to them as well. And this is what the Virtuous Circle is all about. What goes around comes around, I think the term is. So it's all about business karma. If you haven't got time to read posts that people have put up, then you can save them to read for later. And to do that, you first of all go to the post, click the 3-dot button, click the save button for later. To find those saved posts, again, this is the desktop version. To find the saved posts, you go to your home feed on the left-hand side and you'll see a little snapshot of your photo. And then you will see saved items in the list. And that's where you can find all of your saved items. Go into that once a day, and then you can then take the action that you need to take. And I've also written an article, which is far, far more than I can cover in 10 minutes. So I would ask you to please have a look at this. It is some more ideas how you can actually support and showcase each other in LinkedIn. It's 4 weeks old now, I think, but it's very relevant to the situation that we're in now. So please, I would encourage you, please, to have a look at that, and that will give you far, far more information. And the final thing I want to just tell you is, because you're doing all of this, you've got to be easy to contact. And one of the biggest mistakes in LinkedIn is not completing your contact details or having incorrect contact details. So go to your desktop version, click on the contact info. You can do this on the mobile as well. And then you'll get this. Complete the details. Make sure that your email is up to date. So many people sign up to LinkedIn using a personal email, or perhaps they sign up with a company email and they've left the company. So you must make sure that these details are absolutely included within your own personal profile. Make it easy for people to contact you. Okay, and this is how to contact me for further information. So there is going to be time for questions after Jonathan. So I'm now going to stop sharing. You will get a copy of this presentation. I'll pop it into the group. I'm stopping sharing, and now I'm going to hand over to Jonathan all about Facebook.
Great, thank you, Linda. Can you just confirm that that's all okay? You can see and hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Jonathan.
Good, good, good. All right, so where are we?
You're on a slightly different tack from Linda, which is more about sharing information and helping each other. We're now talking about advertising.
Yes, exactly. So we go from definitely from the one-to-one communication to more into the broadcast sort of medium, really, and how to do things a little bit more at scale. So what I want to talk about today, I'm going to try and cram as much as I can into my sort of 10 or 15 minutes, was to look at basically 5 reasons why businesses fail with Facebook advertising and how to fix them. So, let me see if my slide's working. Yes, so basically, my name's Jonathan Howkins, and basically I do sort of Facebook advertising training for businesses, helping develop in-house teams, skills within in-house teams, also coaching clients who are looking to develop their own skills in-house, or for those who actually would rather not get involved in it and outsource the whole thing. I do some agency sort of services as well. So what I want to do is to talk briefly about is what's happening right now. I mean, there is obviously extraordinary set of circumstances for everyone out there, but to look at how it's impacted into Facebook itself. Now, we'll probably, as we know, or probably could sort of guess, you know, everybody's screen time has jumped massively in the current environment, whether that's people searching for answers on things, looking for entertainment, or connecting with other people. The fact is that screen time has gone up sort of massively, which means that potentially there's opportunity to actually start to engage with people very effectively on Facebook at the moment. And the other thing that's happened is the fact that due to a lot of online ad budgets shrinking over the course of the last couple of months, is the fact that there's actually now additional inventory available actually on Facebook, which has actually driven the costs down, because Facebook advertising works on an auction model, so less people in the auction, and the costs go down. So it is quite an interesting time. I mean, I've been focusing purely on Facebook advertising probably for the last 3 years exclusively, and really the prices at the moment are ad prices back to what they were probably a couple of years ago. So it is quite an interesting environment at the moment. But what I wanted to do is to talk about these 5 things, but I wanted to talk about them in the context of a campaign. Now, let's forget all the numbers at the moment. What I'm going to do is just walk you through this. But this is really an indication of exactly what's happening at the moment. This is a campaign that I'm running. This is a snapshot of the last sort of just couple of days. I'm running a test. But I want to just talk through a couple of things that are happening here. Firstly, I've spent £17.15 on this campaign over the last, I think it was two and a half days, something like 2-3 days, something like that. But I've been able to reach 14,000 people. Now, this is a video campaign, and actually the current costs, as you can see, now a cost per playthrough is actually the cost for someone to watch 15 seconds of a video. And as you can see, it's 0.4 of a penny per person. Which is pretty extraordinary at the moment. The other thing is that over the course of this campaign, now this is a 3-minute video. This is a video that really is about teaching somebody something. So it's not actually directly selling anything, but it's about building that engagement and building a connection with an audience. So over 3-minute videos, there's people have watched, 826 people have watched 1.5 minutes of this video. So it's cost me per person for them to consume 1.30 minutes of my brand and me and talking about sharing my expertise, 2p per person. Now, I don't know what happens, but if you try to translate that probably into any other type of advertising medium, you know, the costs at the moment are quite extraordinary. Now, actually, as an aside to this campaign, my objective purely was the video, because purely I'm trying to engage an audience, but quite amazingly as well, it's generated 250 clicks. It's cost actually 7p per person to get someone to visit my website. Now, I'm not suggesting you can do this straight out from Facebook ads. I've been doing this a long time, and so I know exactly how to do it. But I just wanted to do it as a bit of an indication as to what's possible, and also to look at then these 5 things, because all these 5 things have contributed to being able to achieve these results. Okay, so the first thing, the 5 reasons that businesses fail with Facebook ads is to do with targeting, messaging, converting, budgeting, and timing. So I briefly want to go through each one of these. Now, I know we're very tight on time, but I want to try and give you an idea as to what is the main issue with this, and what are some of the quick fixes that actually are available to you. So the first failure is to do with targeting. Now, The thing about Facebook in its background has always been its big selling point was it's because you can target based on demographics and you can target based on interests, people who like this and people who like that, which is great to an extent. But actually what's even more powerful with Facebook is to be able to target by actions, by what people actually did. So whether, and this is a case in point, I'm targeting people who watch my videos. So not, and I'm targeting people by people who visit my website. So it's not just the fact that I'm just reaching out, broadcasting to people who may be interested in things. What I'm looking to do is to target my ads at people who have taken specific steps to show that they're actively interested in what I have to offer. So, and this is driven by the use of the Facebook pixel. Now, as I say, I can't go into the detail of this, but the Facebook pixel is a small piece of code that once you start to advertise on Facebook, you get this piece of code and you can put it onto your website. Then it obviously tracks anybody who comes from Facebook or other areas to your website. It allows you to basically understand and build up a picture of who's actually taking action. What does one of your potential buyers look like, or potential sort of leads sort of look like? But that pixel's also working on Facebook itself. So who consumes your videos? So that's why I use video-based content, because I want to be able to target people who are watching the video. So I can put out a video, I can see who watches a minute or a minute and a half of that, and then I can basically put ads in front of that audience who've already raised their hand to show some sort of interest. So key thing here is being able to target actions, not just interests. Okay. The second thing is in messaging. Now, one of the other challenges a lot of people have with Facebook is the fact that they go, well, I don't know how to write ad headlines, or what sort of images should I use, or what words should I use on my ads. And you know, it's a challenge for all of us. But I mean, I think the great thing with Facebook is the fact that it gives you the opportunity to actually go out and test something. Facebook have got a tool called Dynamic Creative. Now, what this means is the fact that you can create a campaign and you could come up with 4 potential images. You know, you might come up with a graphic type of image, you might come up with a product image, you might come up with an image with you as a person or a potential client. You can actually just pick different images. You don't need to sit and agonize, is it the right image, is it the wrong image? You load up 4 images. Then you come up with maybe 3 different headlines that you might think of. Some, you know, don't think about these things too much, just throw some things up there. And then you can come up with 3 bits of copy for it. Now, what Facebook will do is actually then automatically combine the different elements together. You know, headline 1 with image 2 with body copy 3. And it'll show you which combination of those actually performs the best. So basically takes all the guesswork out of it for you. So you can be far more reactive, far more just trying different things and testing them, and let Facebook's engine do the work for you. And then you run a campaign, test everything out, have a look at the data, go, okay, the combination of that headline, that image, and that body copy drove the most traffic. Right, I'll create a new campaign just using those. So there's a great way. You don't need to sort of agonize or just go, I test 1 image. You know, some people will launch a campaign, test 1 image and think, oh, well, that didn't work. You need to test a lot more things, but it's incredibly easy to do that now. Okay, third thing is about converting. Now, one of the things one of the areas where businesses do tend to fail is the fact that they're automatically thinking that they can instantly convert cold traffic into leads and sales. You know, they can put an ad on Facebook and it'll get people to the website and they'll automatically buy. You know, the thing is and in some instances that is true, but more and more trying to get sales from basically somebody first seeing your ad through to buying tend to only work on lower value items and a bit more sort of e-commerce types of products. If you're selling sort of services, then obviously you've got more sort of relationship building side to do, which is again why I say I put out video ads that actually are about educating my market, about building brand, building credibility. So putting videos out there first to effectively to warm that audience up, for that audience to show that they're interested in what I have to offer by them consuming the videos. And then I might retarget them with further videos and further training. So actually what you're doing is using Facebook as a platform to, rather than almost, if you imagine it, rather than thinking you're trying to build up an email list and market to that. If you think about it as the opportunity is almost like you're building an invisible list on Facebook. So you're not effectively collecting their email addresses, but you're collecting your data in the pixel. So you can show them one video, people who watch that video, you can show them another video, people who watch that video, you can show them another video. So you get the opportunity to actually really show multiple ads, to really warm that audience up at very low cost. And then you can retarget them with actually ads that are then targeting a warm audience. So let's say, think about that in terms of you need to nurture and build them up. I guess very much, you know, as you do with any relationship, as Linda was saying on LinkedIn as well, but you're doing it in a very different way on Facebook. The fourth thing is budgeting. Now, often I see sort of businesses who will launch a Facebook campaign and go, oh, all right, I need to get some results. I'll spend £10, £20 a day or whatever to start it off. And then they might spend, you know, get run to a week and they've spent 150 quid and they've got no results from it. And it's just really not that sort of thing. The idea is that basically you start with really sort of small budgets. I'm running campaigns at the moment where I'm spending £1 a day. You know, I think people think that it's something where you have to spend a lot of money. You don't. You know, I take it as a view of be a real sort of miser with your budgets. To do small things and see what happens. I don't know whether you recall back to that screenshot I showed at the beginning. That was spending £2 a day across 7 different audiences. So I always start really small with the budgets to see what's happening, to see if it's working. So you spend £1, £2 a day, then I'd run a campaign and then see what's happening. If it's working, then we'll slowly increment it up. If it's not, okay, we've spent £2, £3. You know, it's the great thing is there's very few mediums where you can go and test something for such small amounts of money. And number 5, actually I'm rattling through this. I don't know where I'm doing it with my time, but I'm rattling through this. Number 5 is to do with timing. And again, the thing is that a lot of people are, when they're first advertising on Facebook, they are in a real rush to get some results. They go, you know, as soon as they launch their campaign, they go, oh, right, okay, are we getting the results? Are we getting the leads? And I think it's often because that can be tied in with their sort of budgets. They're thinking they're spending money quickly. But the whole thing is that actually is to not be in a rush, is to do small, short campaigns for low budget, spending a couple of pounds at a time, and test. So Each time I run a sort of campaign, we'll go, okay, we're going to target this audience. We're just going to run it for 3 days. We may spend £1 or £2 a day, and let's just see what happens. Many times people will ask me, say, oh, will my product work on Facebook, or will my service work on Facebook? And 99% of the time I'll say, I don't know. We'll test it and see. Because that's the thing, is that you can just go and test it and see. You just don't really sort of know these things. So I try not to be subjective about any of it. I try and always be very dispassionate and objective about it, and looking at the actual numbers to tell you, is it working? Am I reaching the audience? Are they engaging and connecting? So it's all about making those decisions based on the results and the short sort of campaigns. Now, there's one great useful tool I'd recommend everybody goes and takes a look at. If you're thinking maybe, is it worth me having a look at Facebook advertising? And that is if you go to facebook.com/ads/library, you can basically search any advertiser on Facebook. So if you've got a list of your competitors or people in a similar area or people who are targeting a similar audience, you can go in and search. Now that's a complete sort of database of all the ads that are currently running on Facebook, and you can do it by country as well. So a fantastic way to spy on your competition, see what they're doing. This will also tell you how long their ads have been running, when they're launching, what's current, what ads have worked in the past. So a great sort of starting point. If you're thinking of looking, see what other people are doing, see what headlines they might be using. What I always look for is, if I see some ads from a potential competitor, if I see that these are ads that they launched like 3 months ago and they're still running, it's a pretty good indication that they're probably working. So I would suggest that start there. Get the sense. If you haven't done any advertising, see who's advertising. I mean, it doesn't mean just because somebody your competition isn't there, it doesn't mean it's not viable, just because probably they haven't tested it yet. But that's a great sort of starting point for you. And this is me. This is my website, jonathanhowkins.com, where you can find out more information and some downloads and things. But hopefully this has given just a quick sort of sense of what's going on. I say it is quite a very interesting time, some great opportunities to develop some low-cost traffic. So if you want to know more or have a chat, do let me know. And I've got no idea how long I've been talking for. So I will stop my sharing now. And
yeah, thank you, Jonathan. I haven't got any questions in the chat. There was some thank yous to Linda and some thank yous to Jonathan now coming up. Does anybody want to ask either Linda or Jonathan a question? If so, wave vigorously at the camera. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a question for Jonathan. So thank you both of you for that. I guess one of the questions for Jonathan around Facebook is, Linda talked a lot about the organic growth that you can get through activities, through building your relationships on a sort of low-cost, no-cost model. How do you utilize Facebook in the same way when ultimately it's a completely different sort of beast from a social engagement side, but how do you drive that engagement on a similar low-cost, no-cost method?
Well, I mean, one of those things is that, again, I think with the drop off in advertisers I talked about before, what people are seeing is actually engagement rates, organic engagement rates, increasing on Facebook as well. From my point of view, the way to get to low cost or no cost promotion is to make sure you get a return on investment from your advertising. You know, if I can get to a position where I know I'm spending £10 a day on Facebook ads, but it's returning £20 a day in sort of profits from it, then effectively that is a no cost model for it. So yeah, I mean, I think that's always been my sort of strategy, only because I find the useful thing about the advertising side is the fact that it's very manageable and very predictable, and it's scalable. So for me, that's why it's always my focus is to try and work at getting that return on investment. So it means that it is completely sustainable as a channel.
Andrew, you had your hand waving. Unmute yourself, yeah.
I did, yes. Hi, thanks, Linda and Jonathan. Really good session. I've got a question for Linda around the commenting, liking, and following aspect. So I've got my personal LinkedIn profile, and I've also got a company LinkedIn page. And generally, my likes and such like are done through my personal LinkedIn profile. So I'll like article, I'll comment on, I'll follow people. Does that relate back to my company and its presence and how that's elevated at all, or are they two separate things?
Yeah, there's two ways of looking at it. Is everything you do as an individual through your personal profile, and that is the best way to do your likes and your comments. That of course relates to you, and of course you are linked to your company page through your profile, so people will see you, and it's you as an individual that how LinkedIn actually works, rather than you as your company. Having said that, you can always also like and comment as your company page if appropriate. So if you are responding to an industry related aspect, you could always like it as your company but comment as yourself. So you're getting a two-handled approach here. So you're putting in your own comment by you, but you're also liking, and perhaps you could add a comment as well as your company. Even if you are a sole trader, as I am, I will often do that. I'll put in my like and comment as me as a person, and then I'll also add a comment or like as me as my business. If it is an industry related type of thing that you think actually this is useful for people to understand and know about, then you can then of course share your own comments as your personal, into your personal feed as well. So that's another way that you can get the message out and get visibility for your company in that way. Okay. But effectively, it's mainly you as an individual where the liking and the comment is most powerful, because it's you that people are going to engage with at the end of the day, not your business.
Yeah, okay. And it's not frowned upon if I'm kind of, it's almost like I would be promoting my own company's message by liking or sharing my company's message, if that's one of the better way.
No, it's not frowned on upon at all, and it is sometimes appropriate to do it using your page rather than your profile. So I think what you have to do is think about the impact on your clients and impact on your target audience. If it is likely to be the individual, i.e. yourself, that you need to be commenting on, then use that method. And that would always be my first preference anyway.
Wendy waved at the camera. And Sabani, were you waving? All right, I'll put you in next. Righto, off you go, Wendy.
Sorry.
Wendy, you're still muted. The mouth is working, but not much sound is coming out. That's it, lovely.
There we go, I'm back. Right, so I'm going to do a post to do with my business, and I'm going to put it on the business page. But I then have got
Wendy,
yeah.
Are we talking Facebook or
oh, sorry, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Linda, sorry. If I put it on the company page, which is great because I want it to be company information as a reference point, but then I've got very few followers on the company page, so no one sees it. When I then go onto my personal profile, like, comment or share, what's the most effective, or does it matter?
Okay, if you are posting into your company page, then
Yes.
the best thing to do is, once that post has gone, is switch to member view on your company page. So just click the little toggle switch.
Yeah.
And you can, the best thing to do is to share that post.
Share it.
Share it. This is the only time I recommend sharing in LinkedIn, is sharing your own company page post. And then you share it as yourself, and then you'll put a little introduction, which will be different to what you've written in the post on the page. And then you'll introduce that, and then you're getting the message out from your page, and you're getting the message out as a person, and you've hit it as a nutshell. The amount of followers on your page is far, and will always be far less than you get connections or followers for yourself, for your own profile. So by doing it this way, and you're sharing your page, you're actually encouraging people to look at your page and to click that follow button.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, Sabani, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I did. Thank you so much. So I've got two questions. The first one is for Jonathan. What would you say Facebook is as a platform for B2B?
Well, I mean, it probably depends on the type of B2B. I mean, I think if you are certainly, at the end of the day, you're targeting individuals. It does work very effectively if you're targeting certainly small businesses or individual business owners as people. Less so if you're more into the larger sort of corporates.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is to Linda. It's probably applicable to Jonathan as well, but purely because our presence isn't that great in Facebook, it's more to Linda. What is your take on a third party managing your social media channels, for example, Twitter and LinkedIn?
Yeah, for a third party, managing your page is absolutely fine. You can actually allocate somebody to be an admin on your page account. For your personal account, it's a big no. It's your account, it's your personal profile, and it should be you. And it's actually against the terms and conditions and user agreement of LinkedIn to give anybody access to your personal profile. So yes for the page, but no for your personal.
Yeah, it was for the business page. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks, Linda and Jonathan, for your wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Okay, last question, I think, because we'll need to move on. Teresa Ward's posted in the chat. Question to Linda, why don't you use sharing?
Okay, yeah, so we're talking sharing from the personal, you as an individual. So when somebody posts in LinkedIn, so let's imagine that I was to post in LinkedIn. If you were then to share that post, you're effectively creating a brand new post. That doesn't add any value to the original poster. It also means that the algorithms actually will not kick in. They will not put your post high because your post will go to your connections, but it won't go to all of those people who've commented and liked on the original post. So therefore, it's not only adding value, not a good way to add value to the original poster, but it also means that your share is not being seen by the amount of people. If you add a comment, it is a much better way because your comment will still go to the original poster's connections, it'll go to your connections, it'll go to everybody else who's commented on that post. So therefore the reach is going to be much, much greater, and your comment will be seen by far more people than if you share the original post.
Oh, thank you. What's the purpose of sharing then? What does
well, you can share, as I say, you can share from your company page post, and people do. When LinkedIn was first introduced, sharing was the thing to do. But now the way that the algorithms are currently, and remember that algorithms change constantly, the way they are currently is that it just isn't adding any value at all.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Always comment, always like, and then that will help the originator and